You're still giving me this gaslight apology that includes Zach's demonic behavior. So it's not an apology.
It's hard to separate the two things.
Then that's something you have to work on.
Okay. All right. Are you sorry for anything?
For anything I did last summer?
Yeah.
No, I repeated exactly what I was told and what I heard.
What do you think of Kristen's decision to not accept the apology and deepen that divide?
She plays by her own rules, so far be it from me to a mere mortal to parse the entrails and do divination and look at the stars and try to figure out what logic. The logic is beyond and above me, and I could devote my life to try to figure it out, and I could never.
Only God and Ali Luber knows.
But my mere mortal reaction would be that it seems like a mistake, that she should have just taken it. That seems like that would be the more like strategic thing to do.
Yeah, I think for like Kristen's playstyle, like you said, she plays by her own rules. She's an agent of chaos and she aligns herself with chaos. Like Jax is also really chaotic. We've seen Zach prove to be very chaotic. So I think that instability gives her a sense of stability. And so I feel like this is actually a really good move for her to like not accept the apology, because if she does accept the apology, she's not able to use that anymore. She has to like put it back, and you know, she needs levers to pull and buttons to push. And so I really like this move from her. I thought it really showed her savviness. It could just be that I'm Kristen pilled, but I just really loved her not accepting this apology and just wanting to be like, no, we still got beef. This is still a thing. And I'm going to keep using this until I find something better and more relevant, which she will, because she's a goat. She's amazing.
Yeah, that's probably the right read. The one little detail I did like about that confrontation is like when she brings it to Luke, Colorado, and you know, she keeps going off. There's this little shot where you see like Luke kind of like running a hand on her back. Like they kind of like bring the camera into like him like kind of making these little hand gestures on her back. And it really feels like, I feel like they said like Luke lives on like a ranch or something, doesn't he? I don't know if he's a horse guy, but it feels like he's treating Kirsten like a horse. Like it feels like he's just like, ooh, there, all right, calm down. Just making these little brushes on her side. Like, okay, we're going to take it a little easier there. Not going to work, but like the way that he physically approaches her, that the camera catches there, like really made me laugh, because it did feel like not the way that you like communicate physically to your girlfriend, but the way you communicate physically to an animal that you are intimidated by and hope will not kick your teeth out.
I've watched enough Yellowstone to know that not all horses can be broken. So, and I think Kristen is one of those horses that just can't be broken. Okay, let's dive into the Valley. Dylan, give us a summary of what happened here.
All right, I'm glad we're back. We're back in the Valley. Yeah. So dissolution of relationships is front and center. Jax and Brittany on the skids. Jesse and Michelle thoroughly divorced. So much of this episode is really just kind of like, you know, setting the stage for how the different people are going to divide their sympathies in the aftermaths of these splits. Yeah. Janet and Brittany like do some like gardening, make little greenhouses. Kristen is stumbling through the episode, zonked out like a zombie, as far as I can tell. And it ends with, on the one hand, our old buddy Tom Schwartz showing up to comfort Jax in Jax's Studio City bar, and then also a rooftop white party hosted by Brittany.
Shout out Whiteouts. Let's go Jets, go. That's going to hit with our audience, by the way.
Which I guess the big moment of the whiteout party is Janet and Kristen going toe to toe over Zach's comments and demonic behavior.
Okay, I love that we're calling it the whiteout party now. So just want to put that out there. While we're on the topic, though, the NHL playoffs are on right now. One thing that I am really missing this season is Jax's commentary on Twitter, because usually if you follow him on Twitter, he's so active during the NHL playoffs. So I'm dying to know who he thinks is going to win the cup this season. Who do you think Jax is going to win the cup this season?
Well, if you want Jax's takes on the NHL playoffs, I think you just have to follow the Tampa Bay Lightning accounts, because they are run by Jax Taylor. I think he was hired to run their accounts like 6 or 7 years ago, which is why he moved to Florida 6 or 7 years ago, and why we never saw him in LA again after that.
All right. Once again, you are tuned into the Brav Hosers, the #1 hockey and Bravo podcast online. Sorry, I definitely derailed us quite a bit here, but what did you like about how this?
They all turned it off.
Yeah. What did you like about how this was presented?
I mean, it does look consistently good throughout all of it. I like that we have the little gardening moment between Janet and Brittany. We've previously talked on the show about how like plants and gardening are often used on the show as like kind of a shorthand for trying to tend to your own life and, make things grow in your own world, especially after a breakup. So we get a bit of that, which is nice. The rooftop party, the white party, is also kind of nice as a sort of shortcut to communicating to the audience that like these are the people who are like trying to show themselves as being clean, as being dressed in white, as being the good guys, as being above it all, as being like the ones who are looking down on other people who are right, who are correct, who are, that kind of like everybody who's there for Brittany is kind of there to communicate that, which is great. So that's great, like a really great kind of party for her to have for that, because that seems to be kind of an overriding theme in this episode. I think is that in the aftermath of these breakups, who is going to stake out the territory as being on the right side, and also who is like just going to be committed to playing mental games and trying to like fuck with their partners or their ex-partners for the rest of it.
Yeah, totally. The white party was like a standout moment for me in terms of like aesthetic and themes. Just this idea of like rebirth or rebaptism and, new beginnings. And we even see Easter. Yeah. Yeah. We even see God's chosen Kristen, Doute, and Janet try to like turn a new page. It doesn't go well, but this is an opportunity for rebirth, and I just love that. I really appreciated that. Do you have a quote that stood out to you from this episode?
Well, you already brought up God's favorite, Kristen Doute, so we're always glad to have her come back. I do like her saying, know that if I'm telling you I am correct about something, don't call me a liar. I hope everyone feels really stupid because I feel so validated. That is it's a little subtle. It's a little, you got to read between the lines there, but I think she is saying that she's right. I love that. That's the stuff we show up for, even if she seems to be like half present throughout this episode.
Yeah.
I think not entirely mentally there all the time. You can still count on her to show up and be like, don't forget, I'm always right and everybody else is always wrong.
So my favorite quote from this episode was from the plant shop guy, welcome to the jungle, when the girls walked in. I just really love that, that's how he greets everyone into the store, and he's just been like waiting to bust that out on camera and have it immortalized somewhere. So shout out to the plant shop guy.
Yeah, and then when Brittany says she's from Kentucky, he goes, all right, giddy up.
Let's talk a bit more about Kristen Doute here. I really love the scene between her and Jesse, where Jesse is like apologizing and like begging to come over to the dark side, like begging to like be accepted by Kristen and Jax. And I thought that this was really a was like a strategic move from him to like look at where things are and where his alliances could be. And I do feel like he honestly does believe the things that he is saying to Kristen, but I think there's also some strategy there. And in terms of like apologies that we get on Bravo, I thought this was actually like a really great apology from him. Like I think that he really nailed it, but I'm curious what your read on that was.
No, totally. It was a complete apology. Like it was without reservations. He apologizes unreservedly, but that he is also very unsubtle about why he's doing it, because he immediately right after says then, so there are going to be people who are on Team Michelle and there are going to be people who are on Team Jesse. And I was just wondering, and Kristen's like, yeah, okay, Team Jesse, sure. And like he doesn't make it hidden why he's doing this. Like he just straight up says like, I want you on my team and please tell me that you are on my team right now.
Yeah, totally. In terms of other like strategic moments, is there anything that stands out to you?
The other similar moment would be at the end when Janet comes to speak to Kristen. Again, people are coming with Kristen with apologies. She just, she just makes it happen. So that was interesting too, because Janet does come and does actually offer like a pretty good apology at first, but chooses not to back down when Kristen kind of like challenges it and says like, I am not apologizing for anything I've done. So that was kind of interesting to me, because you see it, because I think that is strategic. Like she does want to smooth that over and have like that inroad to Kristen, but she's also kind of has enough backbone that when like Kristen is just kind of being a bit of a brick wall, or like not showing any willingness to also bend towards her, when Janet's like, I'm bending towards you, are you going to bend towards me? And Kristen's like, no. Janet at least has enough backbone to be like, okay, like that was going to be the play, but at this point I have to stand strong in my opinion too. So at this point I'm choosing to like call off the apology and call Zach demonic.
Yeah. How do you think, like, what do you think of Kristen's decision to not accept the apology and, deepen that divide?
She plays by her own rules. So far be it from me to a mere mortal to parse the entrails and do divination and look at the stars and try to figure out what logic. The logic is beyond and above me, and I could devote my life to try to figure it out, and I could never.
Only God and Ali Luber knows.
But my mere mortal reaction would be that it seems like a mistake, that she should have just taken it, and she should have shown a willingness to be like, well, you know what, Zach does kind of suck, and that I wasn't saying that, he was saying that. So thanks for coming to me and let's be friends. That seems like that would be the more like strategic thing to do.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think for like Kristen's playstyle, like you said, she plays by her own rules. She's an agent of chaos and she aligns herself with chaos. Like Jax is also really chaotic. We've seen Zach prove to be very chaotic. So, I think that instability gives her a sense of stability. And so I feel like this is actually a really good move for her to like not accept the apology, because if she does accept the apology, she's not able to use that anymore. She has to like put it back, and she needs levers to pull and buttons to push. And so I really like this move from her. I thought it was like it really showed her savviness. It could just be that I'm Kristen pilled, but I just really loved her not accepting this apology and just wanting to be like, no, we still got beef. This is still a thing. And I'm going to keep using this until I find something better and more relevant, which she will, because she's a goat. She's amazing.
Yeah, that's probably the right read. The one little detail I did like about that confrontation is like when she brings it to Luke, Colorado, and she keeps going off. There's this little shot where you see like Luke kind of like running a hand on her back. Like they kind of like bring the camera into like him like kind of making these little hand gestures on her back, and it really feels like, I feel like they said like Luke lives on like a ranch or something, doesn't he? I don't know if he's a horse guy, but it feels like he's treating Kirsten like a horse. Like it feels like he's just like, ooh, there, all right, calm down. Just making these little brushes on her side, like, okay, we're gonna take it a little easier there. Not gonna work, but like the way that he physically approaches her, that the camera catches there, like really made me laugh, because it did feel like not the way that you like communicate physically to your girlfriend, but the way you communicate physically to an animal that you are intimidated by and hope will not kick your teeth out.
I've watched enough Yellowstone to know that not all horses can be broken. So, and I think Kristen is one of those horses that just can't be broken. Another like strategic decision that I wanted to bring up was Jax's decision to have a parallel party, like a rival party. I think it was described to Brittany's white party. And this is like just such classic Jax, but I really love how it has played out so far. The fact that we see this rogues gallery of randos that are showing up,
just
to the
random
party.
cokeheads and Tom Schwartz.
Tom Schwartz and his brother Bert, like and then I can't remember who says like, where is everyone? It's like, oh yeah, traffic. Oh, it's still early, but traffic is so bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which is why we cut to the later moments where it's full of wonderful, lovely people who are friends with everyone. Yeah. But I was delighted to see Tom Schwartz show up, and apparently we're going to get him in Summer House next episode too. I think they said when they show the next episode bit. So like a double whammy of Tom Schwartz. That's what gets everybody excited. I definitely was whooping and clapping when he appeared at Jax's Studio City dive bar there. That's my chicken jockey when Tom Schwartz shows up and sits down and goes, I don't know, man, it's tough. Yeah. That's nothing more thrilling than that.
I was excited too, but also bring Sandoval, you cowards. Like, put him back on our screen. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be a coward. Bring him back. Let's go.
For sure, that he would deliver so much more. Like, Schwartz is so lame there. Like, he is just like, he's being so careful in what he says. Like, he doesn't want to say anything that's misplaced. So he's just like very like vaguely like not really looking Jax in the face, being like, so your feelings are valid, but your actions weren't valid, and that like just like saying like lame platitudes and just like getting through the scene. Sandoval would do more of a show. Like, he would make it about himself. He would cry. He would pout in a corner. Like he would do more. Schwartz, it's classic wishy-washy Schwartz. There was a great wishy-washy Schwartz moment in there where like Jax is like in his feelings and the camera's just on Jax, and you just see Schwartz's arm go into frame, like it's going to like pat Jax or something, and then just kind of like then his arm just kind of retreats, like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. Like, just that like wishy-washiness of being like, I'm gonna make a gesture, hover, nah, maybe I won't. It's just like perfect Tom Schwartz right there. Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was like, also, I feel like Tom Sandoval makes Tom Schwartz, and Tom Schwartz makes Tom Sandoval a lot more palatable. Like, they just play well off of each other. I was watching a video essay on YouTube about various comedies like Dumb and Dumber or A Night at the Roxbury, and it was talking about how if you take one of these two characters and remove the other in isolation, they're just awful characters, and you would never be able to like feel sympathy towards them or relate to them, or like they would be completely indigestible as characters. But once there's two of them, then all of a sudden it's like hilarious how inept they are and how they interact with each other. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, each of these awful people who we would not be able to accept as individuals are able to see the best in the other and how they are able to see the good, and that gives us that forces us as the audience to give them some grace, and that's like that really helps balance. And I think that that's very true of Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval, although like I think all their goodwill has pretty much gone out the window, and they're still very interesting to me as a result of that. But I know that a lot of the audience is not ready to accept them or give them any goodwill. But for the bulk of Vanderpump Rules and for the bulk of their run on TV, I do think that they have had that dynamic, and that really helped, prop them up as these characters that we could really get behind and engage with.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's kind of the secret sauce of the Valley, actually, and why I like it, is that it's full of just terrible people. Like just awful, awful, shitty people. Like, I don't know if there's another Bravo show that has like such a collection of terrible assholes. But
Vanderpump Rules did. But
there you go. Yeah, but we kind of got like the almost the Drakes, not the Drakes, because we don't have Sandoval, we don't have James Kennedy, so yeah, it could get worse. But but we've got like Jesse here. Like we've got some pretty awful people, and yeah, the fact that there are multiples of them doesn't make it unwatchable. It makes it more interesting because we see them like relying on each other, and like we see Jax going to Jesse for advice, and that is like that what I don't know, like whatever the equivalent of the blind leading the blind is for assholes, that's what that is. and you have like Jax talking about like flipping out at Brittany because she slept with somebody when they were allowed to sleep with other people, and like flipping a table at her, and he says like, show me another man who wouldn't act the same way. Like, what? I'll show you somebody who's not Jesse, but that's apparently the only person you're hanging out with and getting advice from. So like, of course your perspective of like what another man would do is totally warped. Yeah, like Kristen having a head-to-head with Jesse too is also another moment of like people with like awful ethical instincts just like consulting one another, and that's awesome. It's super fun. But also we also have a little spice of like some people who are just kind of sweet throwing in. Like that's also why I love having Nina and Daddy there, because they're just like, they just come off as just sort of sweet, kind, dull Disney adults who are just somehow mixed up with like the most awful assholes on the planet.
They're like, maybe Santa Clarita would be a better place for us.
Yeah.
like literally planning to move to get away from all these people.
Yeah.
Do you have any other highlights that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy that Michelle is seeing somebody else, but I'm a little disappointed that she's cheating on Quentin Tarantino.
What did you think of her new guy in his like brief appearance?
I don't know. I guess we need to see more. I feel like we didn't really get enough to have me to have a judgment so far. Did you see enough to come off with a read?
I'm ready for more of him. I think the fact that like he was so ready to chirp into their co-parenting business that they were sorting out, when Jesse was trying to get under Michelle's skin by like talking about moving to Orange County, and Michelle's firing back about how like the only problem I have with Isabella is that she wants everything and she gets that from you. Like just such a weird way to talk about like your toddler, and like you weaponize your child to fire back. And then I can't remember what Jesse says, but the new boyfriend chirps in and is like, oh yeah, by giving her everything she wants. Like the fact that he's that ready to dive into something that is like so personal, to come in on a like fresh relationship and just come in that hot on a co-parenting issue that is like really not your business, I thought was really showed his potential for like being up there in terms of an asshole on the level of Jesse. So I'm ready to see them butt heads. I really like that.
There is real potential there for sure.
Yeah, and I also love the introduction that we get from Michelle to her new boyfriend, where she's in a confessional. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's this guy that I've known for a couple of years, and we just kept bumping into each other at coffee shops and on hikes." And like, it's like, okay, yeah, the place is going on hikes and coffee shops where you just happen to bump into people.
I just kept running into him in the little swan-shaped paddle boat in the middle of Echo Park, which is oh, you again.
There was another moment that I really like in terms of Jesse and Jax hanging out when Jesse like shows up in a car, in a new car, I guess, and Jax is like, "Whoa, you rented this?" Immediately like turns it into this like power play between these two like guys that are going through a divorce, and they're always in a position, I guess, as you're going through a divorce where you're like assessing the value of your assets against like what your partner is going to get, and just to immediately bring that energy to the like friend dynamic and be like, "Oh, did you rent that or is that yours?" And just like eyeing up another person's stack. I just really, I think, captured their mindset, and I just really love that element of toxicity that has like seeping into their relationship with each other, but it doesn't come across as something that is going to be adversarial. It's something that they're like bonding over this like toxic mindset that they have. So I just thought that was like a really beautiful inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about in this episode. Did you have anything else?
What I like about the Jesse stuff, just to like wrap that up, is just that Jesse has been waiting for this for so long. Like, he has wanted to go to war with Michelle because they have so much like animosity and negativity in the relationship that he is going into the divorce like he's been preparing for this battle for years. So that's like a big thing that I took away from this episode, and I'm excited to see how this terrible person goes to war against his ex-wife, because that's what he's been waiting to do for a long time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that Jesse, for sure, it feels like he's gearing up for war, and I'm really interested, like you said, in seeing how that plays up. I think Jax and Brittany is also going to be a really interesting clash to watch. I don't think that Jax and Brittany are as prepared for war or as capable of preparing for war as Jesse is, but really interested to see how that goes down as well.
Yeah.
Who are your stars from this episode?
You know what? I might as well give a first star to Kristen. Even though she was kind of zonked out and all, it was her unpredictability is just always such a big asset. She walks into a scene sometimes like you told her that you're going to start filming like 5 minutes before the camera started running, and it just feels like it could always go in any direction. No matter how long you've been watching her, you still can't predict what she's going to do. So her energy was kind of the most exciting for me. Yeah. So I might as well go ahead and give her the first star. Let's give a second star.
We also got that beautiful moment where she is lecturing Janet about like the power of accountability, and we get a montage of her not taking accountability. So yeah. She brought a lot.
Yeah. Let's give a second star to Jesse, because again, I love hate watching this guy. The most perfect asshole, and he is been gearing up to go full asshole for so long, and we're going to see him realize his full potential, I think, this season, and it's a good start. Why don't we give a third star on a slightly more positive note to Brittany, because that's going to be like one person that we could actually kind of cheer for unironically during this season. I think is going to be Brittany hopefully finding some more independence and getting her life back on track. As much as this episode is often framed in terms of Jax, We literally end with Jax's name going down in flames. You know, like I think the last shot we have is of the name Jax on like the wall of his bar, crossfading into a fire pit. So as much as the framing often puts the emphasis on like the downfall of Jax, like what's going to happen to Jax, a lot of the actual content of the episode is Brittany talking with her friends and like discussing about like you know, her feelings and what she's going to do and stuff. So you know, that it's good to have that side too, and that gives us somebody that we can kind of root for. And I thought it was a pretty good episode for her too. So let's throw her in there as well.
So that's interesting that you brought up the fact that we have all this framing about the downfall of Jax, but the body of that is explored through Brittany talking with her friends, because like I wonder if, you know, production realizes that Jax as like a character and as a person is incapable of carrying a emotional story arc, and so they need to lean on the other tools that they have in their like in their toolbox in order to be able to present this story, because Jax is not going to be, he's not a reliable enough narrator for his own story in order to carry a truly emotional like arc about redemption and downfall and all the themes that they would need to be able to communicate within, you know, a story like that. I'm curious what your thoughts are there.
No, I think you nailed it. Yeah, I think we need Brittany's perspective too to kind of round it out and to have more honesty. Like you say, like Jax is not, we can't count on him to be honest in his reaction. He's going to spin things in a pro Jax way, and I think we can count on Brittany to be a little more vulnerable and to speak her emotional truth a little bit more. So we need her perspective for this to feel more satisfyingly dramatic. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I think I've got very similar stars to you. Number 1 is going to be Kristen, and number 2 is going to be Jessie. We've really covered that. I want to give number 3 to Janet, just because I see that she is trying to make something happen here in terms of like patching things up with Kristen. I am interested to see what she does here, just because I do think that as a villain, she is interesting. Like she emerged as a bit of a villain at the end of last season, and I think that she's just not really likable by the fan base, and I'm curious to see how production kind of responds to the sentiment from the audience on Janet, if they're able to like lean into her being a villain, or if they're going to try to redeem her. It'll be interesting to see how they try to like position all of these people narratively when we have so many new players. Like it's a brand new cast. How they respond to the audience feedback is really interesting, and I think she's one of the more active like strategic players that the Valley has here. So yeah, I want to give an early shout out to her trying to make something happen.
Yeah, good call. I think that she's been kind of chomping at the bit a bit to get going. Like you can tell that she really wants to mix up. She really wants to get involved. In the first season, she was very pregnant for most of it. She didn't really get much opportunity. So it's interesting to see what she's going to get up to this season.
Awesome. Well, I think that about does it for this week. Dylan, do you want to let people know where they can find you? For sure. I'm Dylan Ferguson on Substack and in real life. That's my name. I write about movies on Substack. So if you want to see some of my thoughts on recent movies, go over there. I haven't put anything up there in a while, but hopefully we'll have something new very soon. Awesome. I'm Craig Midwinter. You can find me on our Instagram at Bravo Outsider, on our TikTok, also at Bravo Outsider. Yeah, that about does it for this week. Once again, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, tell us your thoughts. We would love to hear what you think about this. So until next week, keep on wifing.